Good evening here in Manila, good afternoon in London, and good morning in some parts of the world. I would like to thank the MAMI Network leaders and organizers for inviting me to share our breastfeeding in emergency rescue in calamities and in crisis. Let me look through the UNICEF report 2024. It says 48% are exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months globally, and majority 52% breastfeeding around the world. And the milk companies rake sales profit of 72 billion. WHO study has commissioned in several countries, and in particular to the Philippines, they found out that the milk companies spent 100 million US dollars for sponsorship of medical associations, payment of endorsement fee to celebrities on social media, and cash and gifts to political officials influencing their predatory marketing. Now, who is responsible for this child? And why blame the mom and shame them? Looking at the losses of not breastfeeding, it affects the government healthcare budget, treating sick bottle-feeding babies, and weakening cognitive development of the future. And also the family expenses is too much for the hard-earned money just for the purchase of an imported milk that is inferior. Totally, the country with its precious reserve dollars imported this ultra-processed food, and the expenses is so big, 3 billion US dollars. But amazingly and enormously, the gains in breastfeeding, a teaspoon of breast milk contains 3 million fighting germs. We can't get that from formula milk. And according to professor, economist, breastfeeding counselor of Australian National University, Julie Smith, in her mother's stool study, that if a woman breastfeed for 2 years, she produced 3,900 liters of breast milk. And the equivalent global trade value is 3 billion US dollars. Congratulations, mom! But this is unrecorded, invisible contribution to the economy. Whereas for environment protection, breastfeeding is zero waste. Formula milk manufacturing pollutes Mother Earth. In the Philippines, we encounter 20 typhoons yearly, some small and big and turbulent that devastated the lives of the vulnerable group, especially the mothers and the children. And in between typhoons and floods and calamities are earthquakes that happened last year, last September and October, in just few locations. Simultaneous earthquake tremors happened and displaced families and livelihood. Arugaan prepares food at 3 a.m. to serve 500 survivors of the typhoon. And before we do the relactation massage for the mom and baby, we explain what is the recipe of the food they eat that is taken from our local foods, of indigenous food that heals and nourishes. We set up 5 tents altogether. Per tent, we have 20 to 25 cluster of moms for the relactation management. And we give breastfeeding counseling, and in this case, A grandma and a mother brought the infant and toddler, and I asked the mom who is breastfeeding beside to if she can breastfeed this starving baby. The mom says every time she tries to breastfeed, the baby is struggling. That's why she formula fed. Now, after the baby's first experience on breastfeeding on another mom, and then we put her now to the mom who is now confident and willing to breastfeed, we do the drip drop of donor's breast milk. And the family was so thankful. In another evacuation center, we encountered many breastfeeding mommies and some bottle feeding moms. About 60 plus percent are bottle feeding in the Philippines. And after the breastfeeding counseling session, she agreed to undergo special Arugaan lactation massage. So we asked for donor's breast milk for the drip drop when we put now the mom to the baby whose body is so relaxed and ready to experience for the first time breastfeeding. Beside our tent, our cluster of volunteer community health workers and mostly our grandma. So we also show them how they can be relactated and wet nurse the orphans because the moms were missing. They were washed away by the tidal waves, and many orphans were left with the fathers and with the community. In another home visit nearby, two cousins gave birth and have babies, 2 months old and a newborn. And what we did is the intervention of cross breastfeeding, exchanging babies. And since the mom who is bottle feeding a 2 months old baby is so engorged with her breast, we have to unplug and unclog them and make it soften to release the stuck breast milk. And because her baby now has experienced breastfeeding to her auntie, and she also, for the first time, experienced breastfeeding the baby of her cousin, and now she's ready. We put now the drip drop of donor's breast milk, and successfully, in just less than an hour, we were able to help her. In another home visit, we heard a baby crying, and she was given bottle feeding with water. And we asked the auntie, where is the mom? She said, oh, the mom went for the rice ration. And we said, oh, we are the Arugaan breastfeeding team, and we have lactating moms. They left their babies in Manila who are already 3 years old. And can we breastfeed? And the baby was very calm. And suddenly the mommy arrived. She said, what are you doing to my baby? And so our wet nurse team explained. And they have forgotten the wet nursing tradition of our culture. And she was so grateful for saving her baby. In another evacuation tent, a mom, newlywed, suddenly have a newborn baby because her sister died in the evacuation center. So our rescue team, who is also a lactating mom, explained to her how to do the breastfeeding position, the proper latch, the benefits of breastfeeding, the risk of formula milk feeding. And she agreed to have her lactation massage for an adaptive breastfeeding. We chanced upon a severely malnourished mother and child. I called the attention of the elected barangay captain leader of the community that this is a community social responsibility. Let us help each other. And right then, we collected breast milk from the neighbors and feed baby Dahlia, who's, even if she is so malnourished, because previously she was breastfeeding, but because her mom went to the public health center and she was diagnosed with tuberculosis, and the doctor said, stop breastfeeding. And that was the start of the decline of baby Dahlia's health. And when our team, lactating mom, expressed her breast milk to give to baby Dahlia, baby Dahlia's mind is still intact. And she remembered the smell of the breast milk. She saw how it looked, and she took the cup of breast milk. And in between breast milk, donors breast milk feeding, we cook indigenous food that heals and nourishes appropriately for this baby Dahlia. And then we called the neighborhood, in the community. We gave breastfeeding session and explained to them our roles and responsibilities, that no child is left in the community. And after 6 months, baby Dahlia is now very healthy, in smart baby. But the challenge is the critical state of malnutrition of Mommy Jasmine. Arugaan has designed a very powerful fast-track relactation management in less than an hour. The lady in red blouse is an employee and took a lunch break from the office, and 5 women supporting her relactation management. She used to breastfeed after birth, but then she said, I have very little milk, so I mix fed, and then now the baby is bottle feeding. So you will look at the mom seated expressing her breast milk to be used as donor's breast milk for the transition of drip drop. And the one standing is Arugaan breastfeeding counselor, guiding the mom proper position, explaining to her. And the baby that she is breastfeeding for the first time is a borrowed baby from this mom who is seated. And her baby who is bottle feeding is being wet nursed by an experienced breastfeeding mom in blue shirt, while her baby is grappling her brows and another woman attending to her baby. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fast track method of Arugaan. Of course, you have to involve the fathers in support of breastfeeding moms. They said they are stay-home mom, so they joined the mother's class, and we taught them step by step. The following day, they brought their wives and absent from factory work, and they did well. And the mom was so engorged, and we asked the mom, when you are at the workplace, what do you do when your breast is engorged and your milk dripping? She said, we throw it away. When we were in a health center for our mother's class, we came early and it was closed yet. But we chanced upon a grandma crying with 2 grandsons. She said, my daughter left us with a letter that she's going to Manila for a job, and as soon as she has her first salary, she will send for our food money. Please give me formula milk. We explained to her, look, grandma, you breastfed your daughter before. Now we will go into relactation. And in 20 minutes in emergency mode, the breastfeeding hormones of prolactin and oxytocin were released, and successfully breastfeeding in 20 minutes. In a sanctuary of abandoned and abused children, the Television Network Foundation heads told Arugaan, please send us 8 wet nurses for night and day shift for the babies we have picked up and rescued at the bus station being sold, and also some were put in a dog cages. And our wet nurse was so happy to do tandem breastfeeding with their biological child and the orphan baby. And the She Heroes for the celebration of Women's Month this March, they are the wet nurse for the rescued babies. Next slide, please. Arugaan has a breastfeeding in emergency preparedness training for the Philippines Department of Health. In successive sessions of training covering 189 trainees, we were able to lactate 115, and only 64 were not lactated. Most of the trainees are single women. Some are mothers with youngest children who are already teenagers. Some have breastfeeding experiences. Some have no breastfeeding experiences at all. These are nutritionists, doctors, midwives, nurses, and community mother leaders. In, in another country, Indonesia, they always ask Arugaan to give them an breastfeeding in emergency preparedness training. And out of the 148 that we have 148 trainees we gave training, only 102 were lactated and very few, 46, not lactated. The same, they are medical practitioners. Last year, for in celebration of the World Breastfeeding Week in August, the Department of Health in the province invited us to give a live concert in an auditorium. They challenge us with cases of a model mom who is bottle feeding, a mom who is a pump feeder, never experienced breastfeeding, and another mom who claims she has little milk, that's why she gave up. Then we show them in just 1 hour, step by step. We start with a back massage to relax the mom's body and to stimulate the breastfeeding hormones where they are located in the back, in the legs, in the feet, and in so many parts of the body. And they were so amazed in awe, the audience, when they saw the bottle feeding mom of a 4 months old baby whom she left at home. After the lactation massage, we borrowed a breastfeeding baby from the audience and put her on the breast and taught her how to express breast milk that never stopped dripping. The mom earlier who claimed that she has very little milk, now halfway of the lactation massage of Arugaan, her breast milk was flowing. So we taught her how to hand express and stored her milk so that she can give it through cup feeding. No pump, no gadgets, and no bottles and teats. And we taught the father how to do the cup feeding when the mom is away at work. Now the biggest challenge for our Ministry of Health, Department of Health, because there are 11 years old to 17 years old young moms giving birth every year at 139,000. And you know the data says when they were still children, they were malnourished. Now they are young moms. But they could not comprehend our counseling. So we have to do repeatedly. And now we're developing TikTok communication. In another country, some countries would come to be trained as trainer. So an Indonesian doctor came last September and we did we taught her 3 days of relactation management and she took the challenge of grandma. And we also borrowed breastfeeding babies to after the lactation massage to put on the grandma. And immediately her body really responded. And this trainee who is an Indonesian doctor never breastfed. She was pump feeding since her baby now is 3 years old, but 1.5 years ago, 1 year and a half ago, she was pump feeding. Now, for the first time, she experienced direct breastfeeding from a Filipino baby, this Indonesian doctor mom trainee. And this February, she reported that she had 27 patients in February, all transforming them back to breastfeeding. Since we don't have time, I will just give you the overview of Arugaan's power of lactation massage, a transfer of skills in 53 techniques and strokes. Yes, I'm a grandma. I breastfeed a baby anytime. Give me a baby now, tomorrow you'll see my milk sprinkling. Thank you so much. Mabuhay, long live.